Hey, welcome back to the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge, and today we have James and the Giant Peach. This is a 1996 hour and 22-minute long film produced by Tim Burton, of course, who loves making those stop motion animated films. And this is actually a Disney thing, although it doesn't feel like traditional Disney to me at all. Yeah, it's a Walt Disney Pictures film. Yeah, directed by Henry Selick, who also did Nightmare Before Christmas, did Coraline. He's done a bunch of other stuff, but that's the stuff you probably know him best for. This is kind of an underrated little classic. I've always wondered. I never actually saw the movie. I've never actually seen this before. I know I've seen bits and pieces of it. I had no idea how much of it was live action. Yeah, I thought it was just stop motion animated. There's like the first 15 minutes of the film is live action. At the very end, it's live action. Also, kind of a bracketing kind of thing. And I won't tell you anything else about that, but because it might spoil some things for you if you haven't seen it yourself. But yeah, for me, that was a big surprise. Everything I'd ever seen about this, the trailer and everything else, I didn't recall any live action stuff. Maybe there is in the trailer. I have no idea. It's 1996. I just didn't see it. So yeah, that was a nice little surprise. Of course, it's the same kind of stop motion animation that you would see in Nightmare Before Christmas and Coraline and everything else with Leica. It stars a young kid named why is it? Come on, no, go back, no, come back. Oh gosh, there it is. Paul Terry. His face isn't on IMDb, so his maybe he hasn't done anything else. I didn't check, but you'll recognize a bunch of other names. Susan Sarandon is in this, plays a spider. David Thewlis plays the earthworm. He was also one of the teachers in Harry Potter. Of course, who was British and not in the Harry Potter films. He was a werewolf, so I can't remember the name of the teacher. Pete Postlethwaite also is in this. You'll recognize his face if you don't know the name, if you've seen enough movies, as I have. Richard Dreyfuss is a centipede in this. Jane Leeves is a ladybug. Jane Leeves as Daphne from Frasier. Back to Richard Dreyfuss, though. He plays this very Brooklyn voiced American sounding, where everybody else is very British. He is very Brooklyn, and he is a little shady at times. But I have to throw this out there. There are tons of references. It's not okay. I shouldn't say ton. There are a handful of references to different films and different characters that relate to one, the animation, and two, certain actors. And in the case of Richard Dreyfuss, we get to see them. I'm ahead of myself now. At one point, he faces off against a mechanical shark. So, yeah, and if you know Richard Dreyfuss's history with mechanical sharks, named Bruce in Jaws, well, then it's a nice little callback. I can't imagine that was accidental, but I mean, again, this is based on the book by Roald. I want to say Ronald. I want to throw the N in there. Roald Dahl, who who also made Charlie the Chocolate Factory, most famously. So yeah, this is very much, I guess, based on the book, rather than any other medium. I don't know if anybody's ever. I'm not aware, because again, I haven't seen this one. I don't think anybody else has made other versions of this story. It sounds, outside of animation, incredibly difficult to make, but I know that I've seen advertised like High School Musicals performing James and the Giant Peach, because it is a musical in this format. Music by Randy Newman, the guy you know as You Got a Friend in Me, does all the music for the Toy Story films and among other Pixar stuff. But yeah, he's all over this. You can tell it's very much Randy Newman. Although one of the songs, "Eat the Peach," I think, or something like along those lines, is actually written by. The lyrics are by Roald Dahl. So I'm probably saying his name wrong completely. It's just I know that N is not in there, and I want it to be, and I keep messing it up. But in case you didn't know, I'm going to give you a basic overview of the story, in case you never saw it like me. But I don't want to ruin it for you. It's surprising, at least to me it was. Um, the fact is, like I said, this is live action for a good portion of it, but has a very strong um, Tim Burton-y vibe. Okay, it's the sets. It's very much crafted, dark, very kind of twisted sets. Um, James is very happy with his mother and father. They dream about going to New York City together. When tragedy strikes, as it does in a Disney film. But okay, this story predates Disney very, very far. But people always seem to be losing parents in Disney films. Don't know why. Or the parents are already gone. One of them, anyway. So anyway, James loses his parents, and he has to live with his very nasty aunts, a pair of them who are just greedy and selfish and cruel and just every awful, overly. If they're meant to be comedic in their cruelty, at least as they're depicted here, but they're just utterly disgusting people. They're just awful to him. Um, the humor in which they express themselves makes this as not of a dark film as it could be. It seems like Dahl has a thing with making stories about children, young boys specifically, in dire situations, growing up in sad, poor conditions. Maybe that's how he grew up. I don't know. I don't know enough about the author. I'm feeling the J.K. Rowling stole that bit to make Harry Potter, among other things, Star Wars. But yeah, it's basically James having no friends. He's alone. He's treated cruelly. When suddenly a strange man comes along, usually is a red flag, but in this case, he gives him a very curious bag of what seems like something very magical. And things go not as planned, and a giant peach grows on the property where he lives with his aunts. Of course, they see immediately that it's theirs, and it's theirs to make a profit from. Along the way, James eventually takes possession of the peach at one point, not through any intent of his own. Things just sort of get out of control quickly, and he's soon sailing a gigantic peach. Yes, it's big enough to live in, with a collection of giant bugs, and make their way across the ocean to the place he's always dreamed of, New York City. So it's it's that adventure, first in the ocean, then in the air, and it's all music, and there's innovation and imagination and all sorts of things like that. It's very weird. I mean, yeah, I mean Disney can do weird. Disney has done its share of weird, but this is Tim Burton level weird. It's Roald Dahl level weird. It's a humongous mix of weird all throughout. But that's all right. That's great. Yeah. So if you're looking for something that's on the unusual path, and of course, if you already like Nightmare Before Christmas, you'll probably like this. It's not a photocopy of it. Thankfully, you don't need multiples of the same exact film. But if you appreciate the style of animation and a musical component as well, it's no Danny. It's not Danny Elfman and everybody else doing stuff in Nightmare Before Christmas, but it's Randy Newman, so you'll like his stuff if you're like a Toy Story fan. And I love L.A., so one of his most iconic hits, especially here in Los Angeles. Can't go to a Dodger game without hearing it, I think. So yeah, it's a great fun cast. And what was the other reference? Oh yeah, there's another reference. There's a few references in one of my favorite scenes that I will spoil this a little bit, but I will not do it justice by speaking about it. So you'd have to see it for yourself. There's a moment in this in which they go off course while flying the Peach across the ocean, and they run across shipwrecks in the northern seas, and they look for a way to get back on course. And they come across an old pirate ship, and that pirate ship contains skeletons. And who do you think one of the skeletons looks like? Jack Skellington. In fact, when Centipede makes his way into the ship, the very first thing he says, "Oh, look, Skellingtons." I'm pretty sure I heard that right. Maybe I made that up in my head, but he said, "Oh, look, Skellingtons. Jackpot." Right after that, when he finds a compass in the hands of this slumped over Skellington. And this Skellington, as he calls it, has the exact same head as Jack Skellington. So it's not the same character, maybe. I don't know, but it's not the same character. It doesn't really have a voice or anything else. He's certainly not singing about Halloween and Christmas and everything else. He is very much just a pirate, and it's that physical character. It makes its way into this. It's a nice little Easter egg. It's pretty much not very well hidden, but it's there. But one of the other things I like it is one of the other pirates, the other skeletons living on this ship that come alive, ghosts in a sense, is Donald Duck. Yes, he has a much taller body, but he's got the hat and he has a duck bill, and he makes the Donald Duck noise, even though he doesn't say much of anything. It's Donald Duck. It's a Disney film, so it's kind of interesting. I've never seen that. I certainly wasn't expecting it, and there's probably a few others in there that I just didn't capture in my head. But yeah, the two big ones: Jack Skellington and Donald Duck, of all people, in this Disney film. Skeleton versions of them. So yeah, I'm itchy. Anyway, yeah, it's a fun little movie, and while it is pretty dark at times, I mean, it's shot. The characters go through a lot of their trials at nighttime, and I mean, it's literally dark, not just story wise or tone wise. It's you realize that there's a chance this kid is just having a delusional nightmare. Maybe he bumped his head and he is doing anything he can to escape the terrors of his day-to-day life, his lonely, sad life. And he finds joy in befriending these giant bugs on a flying peach, going across the ocean to a city he's never been to. Is he delusional? Is he just desperate for a new life that he's willing to make up something in his head to our great entertainment? That is answered in the film. So we get to see if he ever makes it to New York. You get to see whether it's honestly just all in his head. If there really was a giant peach or an old man with weird stuff in a bag, and you get to, were the bugs real? What part of any of this was real? And you get to find that out. One bonus thing is, after the credits, there is a short scene. It's cute. It's not really important to anything. It doesn't answer much, but it is a neat little after credit scene, pre-Marvel Cinematic Universe. So, I mean, some films did that at the time. Ferris Bueller certainly did that back in the 80s, but it's not a common thing all the time for most films, other than Marvel now. So, yeah, I really enjoyed it. I did not expect it, because I figured it didn't have the type of following that so many other Tim Burton films have. I mean, again, he's a producer, but that's why his name is associated with it. And the style is also because it's so much. Is him, Henry Selick. Hold on. Yeah, Henry Selick. I want to make sure I didn't say Harry. It's Henry, yes. Yeah, and yeah. If you put off watching it, as I did for so long, then now's your chance to check it out. Highly recommend it. It might not trigger all the things you like with Nightmare Before Christmas. That's all right. Still have a little bit of enjoyment, and it's great to find a lot of weird stuff on Disney Plus. So yeah, let's pick tomorrow's episode.
202.
Oh, don't have to scroll far for that one. Oh, here we go. It's a short. starring Goofy. And it's one of the series of things that Goofy teaches us how to do. And 202 is how to play football. This is one of the old classics, I think. I mean, How to Stay at Home is one of the newer ones that was created since the pandemic. But I think How to Play Football is a quick little short from Goofy from the ancient days of Disney. But I could be wrong. We'll find out tomorrow anyway. How to Play Football starring Goofy on the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge. I'll see you back here tomorrow.